occupation. The Void Lord's Path to Planar Conquest Chapter 6, at the beginning of the Plane occupation. As the siege party, Tessis obviously suffered even more. Beiwang City was the most powerful and prosperous city in Beiwang. The city wall is more than 20 meters high, all of which are made of thick and hard rock. The moat around the city is filled with piranhas. The gate of the city was already closed, and the wooden bridge was pulled up. The whole city is like a turtle, and there is no way to get down. Seeing this situation, Tessis was a little helpless. He wouldn't be afraid if he fought decisively outside, but now if this city wants to invade, it is estimated that even if he does, his forces are almost exhausted. The siege of this world is generally to forcefully smash open the city gate, and you can only use your life to fill it. But the current situation is that Tessis' troops are not enough, and he can't take his life. There was no way, he could only be stationed outside the city and take a rest first. At night, Tessis gathered his priests and leaders to discuss how to attack the city. However, after discussing for a long time, there is no result. After all, you are short of troops. As long as the enemy is defending the city, you can't attack at all. The most urgent task is to find a way to open the city wall. Suddenly, the chief priest of Tessis said, "Respect God, I have a solution, but I don't know if it will work." "Oh, just tell me." Tessis was a little excited. After all, after discussing for so long, there was no result. "Respect God, if we just break the city wall, we may be able to let those rock sheep open a hole. You must know that these sheep feed on rocks, and they may be able to eat a hole in the city wall and come out. The width of the moat is the rock sheep. You can jump right there." Tessie's eyes lit up. "This is a good idea. Very good. If you succeed, you should remember the merit. Thank you for the gods. The top priority now is how to cover the rock sheep to bite the city wall. There are always demigods patrolling the city wall. If they are found, these sheep will not only be killed, but this method may not be used. So, we have to do it the first time." Others were also opened up. "I have a solution for this problem." The soldier commander also said, "We can feint at night. They must have been very cautious a few days ago, so we won't do it first." After a few days, their vigilance went down, and we were looking for an opportunity to take advantage of the night to open the city wall. Others also discussed with each other, and slowly a whole set of plans came out. Tessis was very satisfied and said, "Thank you for your hard work, everyone, go back and rest. Start your tactics tomorrow. By the way, don't let your guard down at night to prevent them from attacking at night." The others bowed their heads respectfully, said yes, and then stepped back to rest. Silent all night. The next day, after waking up early in the morning, the soldiers gathered under the city wall. This plain was basically in a wild period, and the supplies were insufficient. They basically had 2 meals a day, and it was basically impossible for ordinary people to have breakfast. So after the soldiers got up and assembled, they started scolding the inside, and they basically greeted the relatives and friends in the opposite family. Seeing this, the opposite side also began to scold. Lom heard scolding from the palace in the city. He just sneered and said to the priest who reported below, "Don't worry about them, they can't attack the city. They can only use this naive method to get us out of the city to fight." For the next few days, the soldiers on Tessie's side would scold him every morning, noon, and night, and occasionally make a few feints. As time went on, the vigilance of the soldiers guarding the city became less and less. Lom didn't give too many instructions on this. In his opinion, it was impossible for the troops on the opposite side to attack. The priest also reminded him whether he might be deceived, but Lom himself is a conceited god. In addition, apart from scolding and fainting a few times, Tessis didn't move too much, so his vigilance also dropped. Another night, Tessis ordered the soldiers to continue scolding, and the soldiers on the city wall were also a little helpless. "Are these people tired? Cursing every day, my voice is hoarse these days." At the beginning of the scolding battle, they didn't find it. Dozens of black figures flashed by, and no one found this figure in this dark night. Originally, the fur of the rock sheep was yellow and white, but for concealment, it was dyed black. The sound of biting came from below the city wall, but it was covered up by the scolding of the soldiers, and because the city wall was a blind spot at night. So no one found that either. The scolding battle is still going on, while Tessis and the others are waiting nervously. Time passed little by little, and finally, with the hard work of dozens of rock sheep, the button of the gate of the city wall was bitten through. The 4-meter-high, 20-centimeter-thick gate lost its pillars on the wall. The heavy gate fell to the ground with a dull and loud sound, and the ground trembled. And this sound was like a horn of attack, and Tessis had already ordered people to prepare the planks. Rushing to the city gate, several powerful soldiers lifted the plank and pushed it forward on the moat. The soldiers behind shouted and rushed into the city. The soldiers in the city were instantly dumbfounded, but they came back to their senses immediately, and threw rocks and arrows down frantically. But it was too late. A large number of soldiers poured into the city and began to hack and slash. The dark wolf howled and rushed towards the enemy demigod soldiers. The black eagles in the sky also began to attack the soldiers on the city wall. Soon, Tessis led all the soldiers into the city, and many soldiers in the city were killed without reacting. The soldiers on both sides began to fight. At this time, many believers had secretly fled with their believers. After all, for these gods, it doesn't matter who wins them. If Tessis wins, he will die. If Lom wins, his followers may run away, but it is only a slow death. Regardless of that, Lom also reacted at this time, and ran towards the battlefield with the guard. Soon, Tessis and Lom met. The two sides met with enemies, and they were extremely jealous. In terms of personal strength alone, Tessis is definitely not Lom's opponent. As a veteran demigod, he has the priesthood of wilderness hunting. It can be said that if Tess is singled out, he will be tortured by blood. But this is the battlefield, and there are 3 dark wolves guarding Tess. There are not too many words. Now the two sides are either you die or I die, and the fight will start directly. When I saw Lom waved his hand, he swung out a golden giant sword. This sword was called the Sword of the Wilderness, and it was a divine weapon created by Lom. The sword contains the power of priesthood, which can greatly enhance the strength of Lom. Not only that, Lom opened the field of priesthood, which can only be performed by gods who have obtained priesthood. In the field of priesthood, one's own strength will be enhanced, and the enemy will be suppressed. Then use the hunting mark on Tessis. All enemies marked by Lom's hunting mark will be regarded as prey. Next, the prey will be sensed by Lom within a radius of 10 miles, and the damage to the prey will be increased by 20%. It can be said that a** with a priesthood can easily defeat 2 gods of the same level without a priesthood. Even if Tessis added 3 demigod level dark wolves, he could only delay time. After all, he is an advantage on the battlefield now, and Lom's soldiers have been defeated by surprise. It is only a matter of time before the entire army is wiped out, and what Tessis has to do next is to delay time, wait for the victory on the battlefield, and then turn around and besiege Lom. Of course, all of this was a good idea, but when Tessis faced Lom, he found that he still underestimated Lom's strength. In the field of priesthood, his movements felt a little dull. Lom raised the great sword and slashed towards Tessis. Seeing this, Tessis hurriedly kicked his legs and jumped aside. Then he immediately spit out a white flame bomb at Lom. Lom's sword was horizontal, and the flame bullet hit the sword without the slightest damage. The dark wolf also pounced on it, opening its big mouth, and the sharp teeth in its mouth reflected the dark light of Senon. But Lom raised his sword, blocked the wolf's mouth in front of him, kicked back, and a dark wolf was kicked out. The wolf also got up immediately, apparently not getting too much damage, and then grabbed Lom's claws again. Tessis cooperated with the 3 dark wolves to continuously organize attacks, but it didn't pose much of a threat to Lom, and instead looked like he was toying with them. But as the shouts of killing on the battlefield became less and less, Lom's patience slowly faded. He couldn't let all the believers in his family die. But obviously Tessis didn't want Lom to appear on the frontal battlefield. Even if he was injured, he would stop Lom. Gradually, Lom became a little impatient. He wanted to save his own believers, but he was always blocked. The few people, or beasts, in front of him are not his opponents at all, but there is no way to kill them for a while. Tessis just wanted to hold him back. Damn. With the continuous killing of Lom's followers, Lom felt that the line of belief in his mind was broken one by one, and it was about to explode. You are looking for your own death. When he finally found that he couldn't get around Tessis, he decided to kill Tess first and then save his followers. I saw Lom roaring towards the sky, and his body began to grow bigger and deformed constantly. After a while, a nearly 6-meter-tall alien beast with a sword-like horn on its head and a body that looked like a beetle appeared in front of Tessis. Looking closely, the sharp sword on the head of this alien beast seems to be exactly the same as that of the previous sword of the wilderness. Tessis was a little stunned. He always thought that Lom was from the purple race. After all, he has always maintained the appearance of a purple man to the outside world. Unexpectedly, he was not from the purple human race, but a Zerg with a sharp sword on his head. The transformed Lom spread his wings behind his back and flew towards Tessis. When a dark wolf saw this, it directly bit at Lom, who turned into a real body. But when Luomu turned his head, the sharp sword above his head directly pierced the dark wolf's body. With a flick, it was the dark wolf that was directly chopped off in two and flew out, and died at the beginning. Unexpectedly, Lom, who turned into a worm, was so strong. Just when Tessis was stunned, the other 2 dark wolves were also killed on the spot. Tessis knew that he could no longer deal with Lom. She quickly prayed to Satra in her heart and asked for help. Just when the sharp sword on Lom's head stabbed in front of Tysis thought he was dead. A powerful force came from the imprint in his mind, and Satra's voice sounded. Raise your hand. Tessis quickly obeyed Satra's words, and when he raised his hand, a powerful force poured out from his hand and turned into a pillar of energy. Shot at Lom in front of him. Without too much noise, Lom was knocked out and fell to the ground. There was a big hole in the mouth of the bowl, and black smoke was coming out. Tessis was horrified. How powerful Satra must be when such a powerful insect form Lom was killed in one move. Thinking of this, the fear of Satra became even greater, and there was no thought of betrayal in his heart. Originally, the strength of Tessis has increased greatly recently, and the number of believers has greatly increased, and there are still some strange thoughts in his heart. But at this time, all other thoughts were completely extinguished by him. I no longer dare to have any dissent. With Lom's death, a mass of radiant light slowly emerged from outside his body. Seeing this thing, Tessis was very excited. This is the priesthood of wilderness hunting. After Lom died, the priesthood condensed from his body. Tessis quickly seized this group of priesthood, and there was an impulse in his body, asking him to absorb this group of priesthood immediately. Tessis wanted to absorb the priesthood, but his fear of Satra forced him to suppress his inner desire. Without Satra's permission, he did not dare to privately absorb this group of priesthood. After Lom's death, Lom's followers on the battlefield also collapsed instantly. The priests and hunting warriors of Lom have also all lost their power. After all, the power of these priests and **** warriors comes from the gods. As long as the gods fall, the power of these people will immediately dissipate. The loss of Tessis in this battle is also not small. More than half of the soldiers of UU reading www.ukanshu.com's own believers were killed or injured, and there were only 8 dark wolves left. The other first-level arms are also almost dead. You must know that Lom has a large number of soldiers, and even after the battle, he launched a suicide attack. The fanaticism of faith made these soldiers go crazy. Of course, with the death of Lom in the end, many Lom believers lost their power. Soon, the war has ended with the victory of Tessis, and the entire northern deserted city is in the hands of Tess. The next step is to clean up the original Lom's fanatics, and then take down all the other cities in Lom's territory. Tessis left some people to clean up the corpses in the city and take care of the loot of the prisoners. He gathered the remaining soldiers at the fastest speed and killed other cities. Without Lom, Tessis and 8 dark wolves are enough to deal with the remaining cities. In a few days, the entire Lom's territory was taken down by Tessis. As soon as Lom died, other cities were in turmoil, and many people began to flee. The original high priests lost their strength. This caused many rioters to rush into the houses that they had not dared to enter and loot wantonly. Many priests were even killed on the spot. Finally, Beiwang ushered in unification, and Tessis, as the lord on the bright side, led the entire Beiwang. His followers also reached more than 200,000. His own strength has also been pushed to the pinnacle of demigods by the power of faith. But the more powerful Tessis was, the more fearful he was of Satra. He still didn't see the true strength of Satra, and Satra didn't seem to need believers. Tessis had already vaguely guessed that Satra's strength might be at the level of a ***** king. Tessie's attitude towards Satra became more and more respectful.